exactly what you're thinking. You're taking a look at this screenshot we have here, and you're saying, wow, that is a really nice alternate photo from the Exorcist poster. Nope, it isn't. That's actually a shot from a film that came out, oh, what was it, 40 years before The Exorcist. Yep, it's officially day 5 of 31 Days of Horror-Ween 2017, and we're taking a look at The Ghoul from 1933. A film directed by T. Hayes Hunter. Let's see what other stuff he's done. He's done, let me look at selected filmography. Well, this is actually one of his last movies. He did The Ghoul in 1933, only made 3 more movies after that. But yeah, nothing really the average YouTuber's even heard of, so I'm not going to bother. But you know who Boris Karloff is. He's Frankenstein. He's one of the best makeup thespians of all time, and he stars in this film as, well, basically the Mummy. This movie it's not really 100% a brazen copy of the Mummy, but it came out, 2 years afterwards, a year after at the most. Clearly it's trying to sort of imitate and ape the success of that movie with the same Egyptian theme, the same makeup styles. So if you're one of those guys that's wondering, why are there so many ripoffs in horror nowadays? It's a family tradition. They've been doing this for years. They were doing it in 1933, copying and swapping and just doing really, crappy low-budget exploitation knockoffs of original popular mainstream films. It's part of the genre history. It's been around forever. Now this movie, 2 things about it. Well, maybe 30 things I think are noteworthy. Number 1, the cinematography is really, really good. I was really impressed with this. A very nice use of lighting and shadows. So it's definitely an interesting film visually. Secondly, the makeup effects are great. I mean, for 1933, these are some pretty, gnarly and grisly looking, facial makeup effects. Nothing want to give away the movie, but towards the end you see them. They are pretty gnarly. It'd be nice to see what they look like in color, but just the effect in tandem with the black and white cinematography, very, very effective, very unique. And thirdly, this is a film that, I'm not going to say it's a horror comedy, but it does have some elements of comedy. Like the script has certain moments where the characters are trading, jokes and barbs back and forth, and there's kind of these pseudo fourth wall shattering moments where the main characters kind of look at the screen a little bit. So it's an example of an early movie which kind of was self-reflexive. They kind of understood even back then, the tropes of being a genre movie. So it's still a horror film through and through, but it's not 100% trying to adhere to the whole, diegetic straight genre formula, right? Because it's kind of winking at the viewer every now and then. It's not trying to, scare the wits out of you and make you think it's very serious and everyone's in grave danger, at all hours of the movie. It's got some of its whimsical moments. So there's basically that. Those are the good things about the movie. Now here's the bad. Everything else. Because it's just a really formulaic movie. Basically it's about Boris Karloff. He plays a guy who's a professor of Egyptian history. And he has this bright idea that if he is buried alive with this diamond called the Eternal Light, in a sarcophagus he built in his backyard, if they do that, he will get eternal life. So of course he does it, but the switch is, right before he's buried, his servant actually steals the diamond. So you have that element going on. And you can go a lot of ways with the story, but they decided to say, alright, well, we're going to bring Boris Karloff's character back. He's going to be resurrected anyway, even without the diamond. So basically the movie is about that, and some of the relatives of Boris Karloff show up, so it becomes sort of an ensemble piece. And eventually the character played by Boris Karloff, he decides that the only way to appease, the Dark Lords of Egypt is to have a blood sacrifice, and he finds, who was it? I can't remember who it was. I think it was his niece. He's trying to use his niece as a victim, which is something. Why is it always nieces that are the victims of these movies? I've noticed that happens in way too many. It's never a nephew, or never a third cousin once removed. They always use a niece. Such a weird component to these genre movies. But anyway, eventually there's a bit of a twist ending at the end where we find out that the person who's behind all the thievery and all the evil stuff, not who we think it is. So it's a little bit of a bait and switch too, kind of an early example of that, because we think everything going on is 100% supernatural. But towards the end we kind of learn there might be some shenanigans going on. So I know that's something that's definitely been driven into the dirt over the last couple of years in horror film, but again, it goes back to 1933. That's nothing new. They've been doing this for almost a century. So, not a whole lot to say about the movie. I mean, like I said, it has some really, really nice components, some very good aesthetics, but on the whole, it just doesn't end up being a good movie. Like, they have some cool sequences. It looks cool, good special effects. It's kind of neat to kind of see how some of these tropes were being developed before the term tropes was really applied to genre movies. That part's cool, but just overall, I mean, you compare to something like Frankenstein or Dracula from the same time period, Phantom of the Opera, this just doesn't hold up at all. It's just a really, really poor imitation of way, way better movies that Universal's doing. So with that in mind, despite some of the cool components, I gotta give this one my tofu dog rating pretty low. I'm gonna give it 1.5 tofu dogs because it's just not a good movie. No other way around it. Even looking at it from a historical lens, there's not a whole lot of value to it. But, you know, if you're a hardcore enough horror nerd and you haven't seen a lot of stuff from the early 30s, well, still, there's about 100 movies you see before this one. Just throwing that out there. But it's there. It's there in case you want to waste an hour and 30 minutes of your life. Alright, well, that's officially the end of Day 5, 31 Days of Horror-Ween. For Day 6, we're still going to be in the 1930s. And actually, we're going to be going to 1936 to Nazi Germany for our next movie. Yes, we're going to be taking a look at a film that was actually made during the height of Hitlerdom. So, you know, that's going to be intriguing. That's going to be some interesting material. You don't want to miss that. That's going to be our subject in Day 6. We'll upload that tomorrow. In the meantime, stay spooky, y'all. Stay spooky.